Found out wife cheated on me when she was visiting her hometown. We've both been in COVID lockdown for the last year and a half. She lost her job and was at home, while I continued to work from home. When immunizations were available to the general public, she returned to her hometown to be vaccinated so she could begin to mingle after being apart from her family for so long. I remained behind due to immigration concerns since I couldn't cross the border with her Canada to US. May 28th. Everything seemed okay. We were chatting on FaceTime many times a day. Then one day she claims she needs some alone time to ponder about something, so I tell her I won't disturb her. After a few days went by with no word from her, I contacted her to make sure she was well, and all hell broke loose. She was weeping, telling me how upset she has been with me for years, all the unresolved difficulties she has had with me, large and little, throughout our whole relationship. Some of it was real, certain of. It wasn't, but the end result was that I needed to see a therapist to work through some difficulties I was having. Which I admit, there are certain issues I need to discuss with a specialist. We have no money, alcohol, gambling, or addiction problems. My main problems are with anger management, communication, and some control difficulties. It was a hard week, but once we began chatting again, everything returned to normal. I purchased a ticket for her to return home. Meanwhile, I had the impression that something was off about her. She wasn't behaving the way I was used to seeing her. She would constantly remark, "I love you so much," and then burst into tears. The first week of June. Meanwhile, she complains of vaginal heat and discharge, as if she had a yeast infection. She was diagnosed and treated for a yeast infection, and I joked with her about getting an STD test as well. She did receive an STD test, which came out negative, but the vaginal problem persisted. The 23rd of June. She returns home and the next day arranges an online appointment with a doctor to get tested again, and after speaking with the doctor, she walks out onto our balcony and closes the door. That was a major red flag for me since she never, ever talks on the balcony. She did it again to chat to her closest buddy, which I thought was strange. I had a feeling something was wrong. Later that night, I examined her phone to see if there was anything unusual in her text or browsing history. Another red flag was that she wiped her complete browser history while in Arizona. Then I come across a snapshot of text conversations she deleted but was still in a deleted folder, and they were between her and another man when she was changing planes in Atlanta. She was irritated with him since he failed to show up for the dinner they had arranged the night before she went for her homeland. I then searched through her phone records, noting how many times she texted or contacted his number, and she'd been in touch with him for 5 days before we had our first real chat about marital difficulties. I confronted her and discovered that he had been a long-time high school crush of hers, and she had seen him at the club one night while out with her pals. She kissed him at the bar and followed him home that night. She met him 3 more times in a public park after that, and she intended to visit him for dinner one more time before returning to me. He didn't come up on the last night, and she understood he was taking advantage of her. She said that the day following her first encounter, she felt awful and knew she had wrecked our marriage. She continued to meet him because she felt that our relationship was gone, she was lonely, and she needed a guy to give her attention and confidence. We were still communicating throughout that period she was seeing him, and she contacted him often after we spoke. There are simply a lot of emotions for me to handle with right now. She claimed she went home with him because she was frustrated with me, and when she met an old acquaintance from her past, she gave in to temptation. I was even more outraged that her closest friends allowed her go home with another guy and did warn her that what she was doing was wrong the whole time she was there. 3 of her closest friends were aware, and none of them advised her to quit. She should have known better, and I'm simply mad at all of them. I questioned her why she came back to me instead of simply staying there. She said she wanted to come back and work on our marriage, that she wanted to be with me, and that she recognized she would never find another guy who loves her as much as I do. I honestly believe her. I think her encounter with this guy shattered her. I've been the only guy she's ever been with, so I understand a human urge to try something new when the opportunity arises, but a marriage promise needs to mean something. Now I feel betrayed and disgusted, but I'm not sure whether going to therapy to work on this and forgive her is worth it, or if what she did is unforgivable and dissolving our marriage is the best decision. It's difficult to know what to do since there are so many things society, religion, and culture teach us about marriage, yet life is hard, and being an adult is especially difficult. Is it normal to attempt to forgive what a loved one has done, Or do we have certain standards that we must follow regardless of how much a person means to us? We don't have any children, therefore divorce is a viable possibility. At the same time, I'd committed 9 years in a relationship with her, and although I believe I can forgive her for making a bad choice, it's difficult for me to accept how shabby she treated me and believe that I deserve to retain her in my life. How am I meant to know whether she's telling the truth when she claims she despises herself and wants to be with me? I've contacted a therapist for me as well as our marital counselor. She'll need to see a therapist to work through her concerns. Story 2. My 26F, BF, 24M, found men's hygiene products in my shower and now thinks I'm cheating. They're mine. Been dating 6 months. Anyone who knows me well understands what I'm talking about. I'm hardly what you'd call a girly girl. I've never been there before. I dress casually in jeans and t-shirts, with short hair and no or very little makeup on my face. I don't have anything to wear. I'm not sure whether I'm non-binary or not, and I'm not very interested in delving into the details of the labels. I was born into a feminine body and have always identified as such. Being a woman is not something I'm interested in doing. I'm simply being myself. That is, whatever the case may be. Moreover, I am pleased with myself for being true to myself. That's one of the things my BF appreciates about me. With 2 rooms and my own bathroom, I rent half of a house and live in it half the time. My landlady is a touch out of the ordinary. I was completely unaware of this when I first moved in. She had no restrictions in place, but it turns out she is not a fan of people spending the night. She also spends a significant amount of time at home. As a result, while she is out of state visiting family, this is his first chance to spend time at my place. Just so you know, I'm moving out at the end of my lease. My stay at his residence is simple. I just use whatever is available in his shower and carry a change of clothes with me. Flowers and perfumes are not my favorite scents, to put it mildly. Even though my shampoo and deodorant are both labeled as women's, I do have some men's body wash and lotion in my bathroom. He found them in my bathroom, which I had forgotten about. Look, I get how that seems. They are, on the other hand, entirely mine. Simply said, I like the smells. What if I was cheating? Or if he was the side piece, wouldn't I have the foresight to take the other dude's belongings out of my shower with me? In my workplace, there is no extra men's equipment or supplies. No electric razors, no particularly male clothing, and no other items that a man would use on a regular basis were available to him. As I explained to him, I had not concealed the bath products since there was nothing to conceal. Here, take a smell. Haven't you noticed how often I've been wearing this fragrance lately? They are mine, and they are soap and lotion. Have you noticed how I don't smell like I've been rolling about in the yard of a 90-year-old woman? Law. He's not going to believe me for a second. Whether there are any other girls who feel the same way as I do, I had no idea it would be such a major source of stress until recently. Possibly a little unusual, and I can see why he wouldn't want to date someone who washes her hair with Irish Spring, but it's reasonable. But I'm not attempting to cheat, and I'm at a loss on what to do in this situation. I'm also not transgender and have no intention of becoming one. I'm just a weirdo that enjoys the scent of men's grooming products and uses them on a regular basis.